Hello and welcome to Campfire Talks. Um, Please introduce yourself in the chat and share what camp you are from. Before we begin, I have a few guidelines for today. Please mute your mic. If you have a comment or question, please type it into the chat. Be respectful, be present, and speak from your own experience. We have chat moderators who will bring in your questions or comments. And after the session, we'll have neighborhood breakout sessions. And welcome. Now I can see everyone. I am your host, Bratty Cat. I volunteer with both the placement team and the camp support team. And welcome to our third episode of Campfire Talks, Ask the Placer. For this month's episode, we have our placers back to help us demystify the placement questionnaire and answer your burning questions. If you brought these questions, we will have you ask them in the public chat where a nice team backstage will collect and organize your questions to be read out loud. Please be detailed enough with your content and your questions that it can be asked later during the event. And feel free to start entering them into the chat. If you have very specific questions about your camp in particular, you can also email your placers at placement@burningman.org. Let's keep in mind that our placers are volunteers and we're really grateful for their time and for yours. Once again, at the end of our session, we'll be having neighborhood breakout rooms where you'll be able to connect with your placers and your neighborhoods. Okay, placers. So Epiphany is going to enter your bios in the chat, and I'm going to have each of you tell us what you're looking forward to this year as a placer and one thing you'd like to do outside of placing. Monday, do you want to start us off?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Wow. Real panic. Oh geez, everybody's eyes on me. Yeah, so on Monday, I'm the 9 o'clock lead placer. I can't remember what the other questions were. I've been on the team for many years now. I think if the years I've been on the team were a person, they would be walking around and in school and talking about stuff. My first burn was in 2011. I camped with the Awkward and Tawdry Lounge in the 730 sector. And what do I do in my spare time? I actually volunteer with an organization here in Austin, Texas, where we're trying to stop the expansion of the freeways. So I think I'm a volunteer in all of my time, in all of my spare time. When do I have time to do anything else? I don't. So there you go. I'm happy to be here, though.
Okay, what's it? What are you excited for this year placing? And what's one thing you do in your non-placer life, if you have one?
Yeah, well, my name is What's It. I'm going to be in 6 o'clock this year. And I'm excited about that, actually, getting a new sector to explore, a whole new bunch of theme camps to get to know, and we're doing a lot of revitalization around the summer camp. So everybody get excited about that and come see what we managed to get pulled together. Should be really exciting.
Bravo. Would you like to tell us? Oh, yeah.
No, I was just making sure I didn't forget something. Oh,
You could
sorry.
always
What
add
I'm doing
more.
when I don't, I chase cows, I'm a rancher, and I grow a lot of weed. Yeah.
Bravo, do you want to follow that up?
Yeah. Let's see. So, hey, I'm Bravo. Been going to Birdman since 2003, placing since like 2012 or something like that. I camp with Awkward and Tawdry with Monday there. I don't know. I sometimes hate to admit that, but I do. I really enjoy the placement team. I enjoy dealing with all, interacting with all the camps. It's really fun to see what's going on and being able to help, make these awesome things happen as we put camps together and work with people. So lots of fun. And like Monday, I also volunteer, except I don't volunteer for something as, I guess, whatever as Monday. I volunteer for the haunted house. So I make stuff for the haunted house. So whether it's making art for Burning Man or scary art for the haunted house, it's kind of my thing.
Thanks, Bravo. And Cosmic, I saved my favorite cat for last.
Yeah, the cats rule on the placement team. And new this year, I'm new 730 sector lead, so that's kind of exciting. And the best part about it is I get to place Monday and Bravo in their Awkward and Tawdry camp. It's part of 730. I started going to Burning Man in 2010, building theme camps and art and producing regionals, and Yeah. What I like the best about it, I think too, is our team. It's pretty awesome. Definitely many times go and work on the team and don't really do the whole burn. I love our team. But what's the other question? Oh, what I do, I am a mom, and I like to crochet. I taught myself how to crochet during the pandemic, and that's kind of my meditation sort of thing. So that's about it. Yeah. Happy to be here.
Thank you. I'm Brenda Cat. Like I said, I volunteer with both the placement team and the camp support team. And I'd actually like to take this time to show the camp support team and those helping us backstage. If you camp support volunteers want to unmute and wave, let everyone see you for a second if you can.
Hi.
And
Hello.
yay.
Hello.
It's a really wonderful team, and if you're interested in joining us, there'll be a form we'll plop into the chat and you can fill out, and we'd love to hear from you. We'd also love to know more about you as a community. So if you would like to tell us where you're zooming in from and how many people are in your camp, please put that into the chat right now. While that's happening, I'll actually introduce Papa Bear, who'll give you a little brief update on some timeline and coming up deadlines.
Oh, nice. There's slides. Hello, I'm Papa Bear, placement assistant manager. And quick updates on timelines. The Placed Camp Questionnaire is open right now, open last week, and we are ready for you, whether you're a theme camp or support camp, to fill that out. The highlights of that is all theme camps, whether you're new or returning. Your due date will be March 28th at 12 p.m. noon Pacific Standard Time. If you are a theme camp or a support camp, whether it be work, art, or mutant vehicle, you need to and in a hub, sorry, you also need to fill out by March 28th. So again, that is if you are planning on forming a hub with anyone, you need to fill out by March 28th, no matter what category of camp you are, support or theme camp. And then for those of you here who are planning a support camp, that means you're primarily focused on your mutant vehicle, your art installation, or volunteering for different departments as a work support camp. Your due date is April 18th at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We also have upcoming the 2024 Camp Symposium, and that is going to be March 16th. We'll drop a link for you to register for that. It goes from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Location is virtual, so you can join anywhere at all to watch this. We go over a lot of things in the plenary for the first couple of hours, talking about information coming from Burning Man Project and some really great panelists there. And then there's breakouts for the rest of the afternoon where you can get into the details and granularity of lots of different kind of topics and questions and chat with other theme camp organizers about all kinds of great stuff. And that is coming up really soon, so don't forget to register for that. And of course, if you are local to the Bay Area, there is also the Camp Symposium in-person happy hour, and that will take place also on March 16th from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time at Burning Man headquarters in San Francisco. That does cost a little bit of money because we give you drinks and snacks, but then you get to meet the panelists and meet some of the placement team members who will be in the area and have some great conversations with other camp organizers. I think that's the major stuff coming up. Thanks.
Thank you, Papa Bear. Well, now we've come to our main event of the show, which is our Ask a Placer session. So if you have those questions, please enter them into the chat. I'll also remind you, we've set aside a large chunk of time to try to make sure we hit all of your questions. You can also email placement@burningman.org if we haven't answered your questions. And at the end of our session here, we're going to do some fun breakout rooms with your sector neighborhood if you want to connect more intimately with your neighborhood. So once again, please mute yourself if you're not a panelist. Type your questions into the chat. Be respectful, be present, speak from your own experience. And I think I have a question to start us off, and then I'm excited to learn what you all have to ask. So to start us off, what type of interactivity are you as a placer looking for? And does this differ based on street location? Does
I'll
someone want to go first?
So what are we looking for? Yes, interactivity. We aren't looking for any specific interactivity. We're looking for you to do it. The best kind of interactivity we like is a camp that's passionate about it and they're all behind it. Everybody's on board with the thing that they're doing. That is super important. So what it is doesn't matter as long as you're doing something that you think is awesome and you're bringing it for the community. Now, the different pieces of it as far as like how much do you do? Now that will vary depending on whether you're a street camp or an avenue camp or Esplanade. And I'll let one of the other placers talk about that if they'd like.
Well, no, but I'm gonna say I agree with Bravo that we love the interactivity. That's really number one. But over in 3 and now 6, we like it weird. So make your interactivity a little bit weird, a little bit strange, a little bit like, what did they just say? You know, like maybe you serve tea, maybe you serve it dressed like cats. I don't know. But yeah, and again, you know, if you want to be on Esplanade, we're looking for a much higher level of interactivity. We're looking for something going on basically 24/7. Some of it can be passive for at nighttime, but a lot of interactivity on Esplanade, a lot of really great frontage. We want to walk up, we want to see lights, we want to see interact, we want to stop there. Does that make sense? You want to be the party, the place where people are going, even if it's to chill. We love chill parties too. I don't mean to imply anything there. When you look down the portal, we're looking for something bright and shiny, something that's going to pull people back in, something that says, hey, we're a little quirky, come check us out. And then when you get into the plazas, we're looking for like a little town hall feel. I'm speaking personally, each one of the places is going to have a slightly different tilt to what they're looking for, but generally. How about Cosmic? Why don't you share?
With interactivity, something that I guess the two of you haven't mentioned yet would be, interactivity relative to the size of your camp. So if you have a very, very large camp, like 300 people, then I am going to be looking for, or our whole team would be looking for, that everybody's involved, that you got a lot of events going on and different things versus like a 3 to 6 person camp. It could be that small, and maybe every day they're going to spend an hour or two. I'll use one from 7:30, polishing your nails. They open up for 1 hour a day for a small camp. That's a lot of interactivity, and it's nice service to have for people. So I really like burner fuckery. I like it when camps get together and do that too, and do it to the whole neighborhood. So definitely, if you've got anything like that, put it in your questionnaire. We look at it. I like old school stuff. If you're going to spin vinyl, there's still people who sometimes come out with records on Playa. I love that. Just a unique stuff, I guess, because you guys all walk around the city and you see what we see. So, things that unique that set you apart is awesome. So
Monday,
Monday.
I saw your hand raised earlier.
Yeah, I just wanted to add because I deal with this a lot where, camps are like, oh, we want to be doing more. We're not sure what to do. And I say, just go talk to the people in your camp. You're all weirdos. Like, there's no normal people go to Burning Man. And if they do, they're not normal by the time they leave Burning Man. So everybody's got something weird and unique and beautiful about them. And that's the thing that I personally, the 9 o'clock placers want to see. We want to see you bring that thing that makes you and your campmates you to the table with interactivity. So whatever that looks like, it should be wildly different. So you could be a bar in a monkey hut, and that's great. But like, what is the weird way that you are doing the bar in the monkey hut? That's what I want to know about. And that's what I want to experience. But really like what everybody else said, all the other placers, just put yourself in our shoes. Like we're all burners. We go to the event. We want to see the same weird ass shit that you guys want to see. So, be the change you want to see in the world.
It actually reminds me, our last episode of the Campfire Talk had a really inspiring theme of interactivity, and I believe there's a recording of it on our YouTube page if you want to go back in time a little bit and listen to other theme camp leads share their own stories. Okay. Ooh, thank you all. I'm seeing some questions come into the chat, and we'll bring Cosmic. Did you have something to say before we
Yeah,
go
just
into?
well, yeah, just to add on to the interactivity, because I see a question on the chat is, I do walk around the sector and participate in the stuff that's going on in the camp, and I've done it incognito completely, so they have no idea that I'm part of placement. And like the next year, they find out that I was a placer, and they are just like, "What the hell? Well, we were in my camp doing all this stuff," but it's fun to do that, right? Because we like to do it too. So yeah.
I want to add something onto that. 2 years ago, Skidoo and I wandered around in 7:30 to go to different places. And I got turned away from 3 camps to getting a drink because I didn't have my ID with me. And it was hilarious. They didn't know who I was, and they wouldn't give me a drink because I didn't have my ID, and it was totally fair. So going around, you know, we don't go around as placers. Sometimes we do, but mostly we don't. We just go as burners to have fun and see what everybody in the sector is doing.
Yeah, and I'm going to spin on to what Cosmic and Bravo are saying. We actually do go around ourselves, and it's not in a, what are they doing now? We're going to be picky, picky, picky. No, we want to party with you. Okay? We want to get mellow. We want to chill out. We want to sit on your cushions. We want to do your activities. We're thrilled. If we chose you for being in one of our sectors, we are thrilled that you are there. And we want to check out everything that you're doing. We're super excited about what you've brought to the playa and the dust. And we realize we timed it out once. And if we spent something like 15 minutes at every single camp, it would take us a week and a half to visit all of the camps in each sector. It was some ridiculous sort of a thing because we were like, we'll visit every camp. No, we're not gonna. But what we do is we have a team of people called peers, and maybe Sticky Beak will be talking about this in the future. So I'm not going to say too much about them, but wonderful volunteers, really do go volunteer with peers. They have a lot of fun, and they come and visit your camp, and you can spill all the tea about the placement team to your peers people. Tell them how wonderful we are, or, you know, if we can improve something, that's another way of you communicating with us.
I think this is also a good reminder that we are volunteers and try to go to Burning Man when we can too. Or even for me, I'm reading through all your questionnaires, seeing something in person. I'm just like, I had no idea I was going to look like that. Is there anything else before we move on? Okay. I think Epiphany is our chat reader. If we want to welcome Epiphany and let us have our first question.
All right. First, we have a question from Ryan. He's asking about a question on the PCQ regarding if your camp is providing legal erotica. Does answering yes to that question limit chances of being placed, or is it used strictly to place a camp in a more adult-themed area?
I'll take this one. I'll take this one. Okay, if you're adult themed, that's fantastic. We love you. It's your sticky goodness. Please bring baby wipes. But what we're not going to do is we need to know that you're adult themed, so we don't put you right next to Kidsville. A little awkward. So that's really the basis of what we want to do. And secondarily, we tend to not make a sex themed area. You know, there are some people out in the world that aren't comfortable with their gender realities or sexual realities. And so it draws less attention to you if you're in the general population versus having you know, a red light alley or something like that. So we actually do spread you out throughout the city, but we love sex themed camps. I mean, that's how we all got here, right? Well, not the camps, but I'll be quiet now.
Cosmic, I see your hand.
Oh, well, just clarification. Did he say illegal? Was that oh, okay. That's just me not hearing the right thing. Yeah, thanks. And just to add into that too, is that you know, pretty much everything goes with consent.
Thank you.
Now, I'll add one thing to that. There are some questions on there that if you check, they're for, like I said, we're not we're not going to not place you because you check the box, but you might get an email from placement about something. Like if you're going to have a bar and you check the box that you're serving alcohol, you're going to get most likely get an email or some sort of information about that. So some of those are like what's it said, so that we understand what you're coming, so we don't put you next to some other camp where that could cause issues. Some of it is just for the org's knowledge, so that they can give you that information so you're aware of any things that you need to be aware of.
Perfect. Next question.
All right, our next question is from Jetpack. It's about hubs. They want to know how they should submit their layout without knowing things like what size they'll be placed, what size block they'll be placed on, or if they'll be on an avenue or a plaza. They make the comment, trying to fit 6 camps together with various shared things is enough of a puzzle, even if we know the block location in advance.
I also know placers are welcome to answer this, but we also have, I think, Papa Bear and Level lurking in back if they want to hop in as well.
We do, but I'm going to take it again. Woo!
Go for it.
Okay, see, the cool thing about hubs is that you can share all this power with your friends, right? It's fantastic. Camps that get along. This is one of the best things in my viewpoint to come along in a long time. But you're right. You don't know what size camp you're getting. So what you're going to do is you're going to guess. And you're going to say, you know what? I'd really like to be in a 250-foot deep space. And this is what I'm asking for. And if I had everything the way I wanted it, this is how my hub would be laid out. But we need to come at this with a little the little blue pill of reality and say that when we're placing the camps, we do everything in our power to place verified hubs together in the orientation they want. But sometimes the space constraints won't allow that. So we need you to hold groundlessness when you're sending in your hubs application. You might shift around a little bit. You know, if you want this camp B on your left and camp A on your right, that may change. We may have to put, you know, camp B behind you or something like that. So when you put in your hub, if there are specific reasons that people have to be in a specific configuration, tell us that. Write it somewhere on the map so that when we're looking at it, we can see it. And please remember to be flexible. We're doing the best we can to give you exactly what you want.
Yeah, I just wanted to jump in. That was all great. We had some camps in 9 o'clock last year that were in a hub. They gave us 2 different options for how they could be laid out. And that was awesome for us because it meant that we didn't have to, it just gave us a lot more places that they could go. So if you are in a hub, I know it's really complicated, but if you could creatively think about what are the different ways that you could be arranged, the more options you give us, the easier it is for us to find that perfect spot to put your hub. So I just want to, you know, you don't have to just send us 1 layout. You could send us 3 layouts. That would be great. I would love that. So
Yeah, and I wanted to add a more specific thing about being flexible is that if you are an Esplanade camp and you want a hub and you've got 2 other camps in your hub, if they're not Esplanade type camps, the chances of you getting placed on Esplanade is probably going to be harder for us to place you there again. So it's just to be flexible on your street type is really important. If you've always been an avenue camp, but you're trying to hub with people and stay on the avenue, it's going to make it a bit trickier. So just the flexibility is key.
Yeah, and ultimately also be clear on your hubs, right? So as Monday said, if you can give us multiple scenarios, that's awesome. But if you're only giving us 1, make sure it's clear, it's the ideal that you think is the best setup for you. Also make sure it's not unrealistic. We've seen hub situations where the whole entire block from one street to the next is covered with an entire hubs. So I mean, why is that, right? It's really just trying to be a big village that is trying to become a hub. You know, look at these things and understand that really need to happen that way. Because some of these get overly complicated, you know, and we've seen the last 2 years, and this is new, right? It's a new process for us, so trying to figure it out. But the more overly complicated it is, the more harder it is for us to kind of put you in a spot that works well for you. So if you have questions, you can always send us an email as well, and we can help you kind of understand that.
Yeah, and I'm going to bounce off of that. The size of your hub. I'm actually looking at the question now, and someone is saying they're trying to fit 6 camps together. That's a lot of people to have in your hub. And I want you to have as many people in your hub as you want, but you need to have those, you need to be judicious. The bigger your hub gets, the more constrained are the places we can fit you. Okay, so a 6 camp hub, probably not going to be anywhere near Esplanade, probably is going to be back in, you know, the large theme camp, the 400-foot deep space. If you come to us with a 2 camp hub, a 3 camp hub, those are generally pretty, we can scooch them around within our blocks to help make the neighborhoods the way we're looking at, the way we want them to be. But if you give us a 6 camp hub, that's going to really limit where we can put you. So keep that in mind when you're saying, yes, come join our hub. Yes, you're fabulous. Yes, we love you. You can love them all you want. Be judicious. Is this, you know, is hubbing up with them going to be better for us as a group, get us the where we want to be compared to not having this additional size attached? Is the benefit worth the ROI, I guess? That's a horrible way of thinking about it. Let's not think about it that way. Oh,
Great, thank you. You ready with our next question?
I am. So our next question is from Mello. Do you typically place similar camps near one another? Is there any strategy to placement based on the camp's type of interactivity or type of camp? Do you think this would encourage or discourage diversity throughout BRC?
I would love to jump into this for many reasons, because this is actually the kind of conversation that I had overheard Bravo and another one of our campmates who's a placer having, that made me want to join the placement team, is how do you distribute camps throughout the city? Especially maybe they're, for instance, in 9 o'clock, we had a booty sector 2 years ago, and that was just because I thought it was funny. But, you know, there are other types of camps that, you know, maybe it does make a lot of sense to put them all in the same place, maybe because they're a group of people who will feel safer if they're among similar groups of people. Other times it's you do want to spread stuff out because it's a certain kind of interactivity, and you want that kind of interactivity to be spread throughout the city. There's no equation. You know, Papa Bear once said to me when he was training me to join the team that, you know, our job on the placement team is to be painters, but the paint that we're using are the theme camps. And so I think that's really a way to think about it, is how we're doing it, is that there is internal logic to each sector and how we're doing it, but there's no like grand plan. So, you know, one year you may be in the booty district, and another year you may be next to some, you know, midnight poutine. That's just how it goes in Black Rock City. So I don't know if that answered your question as much as saying that it's really dependent on what it is you do, what your camp is about, and what your placer is feeling like that day.
And we do, I think most of the sectors, maybe 9 or 10 and 2, do try to spread out bike repairs and coffee, kind of more the services type of stuff that you would find in a city, because just so that everybody in your neighborhood can enjoy it. So we might be spreading that out more, but yeah.
yeah, and looking at the question, you're asking, is there any strategy to placement based on the types of camp or the interactivity? Absolutely, there is, at least within the mapping of each of the neighborhoods. Because when we go in, we're trying to make it diverse, we're trying to make it fun and exciting. So no matter where you are, you get a little bit of everything. We actually try to build neighborhoods. So there's a coffee and tea in the morning, there's something to do late at night, there's something bright and sparkly, there's something sort of maybe emo and dark. There's something quirky to make. There's maybe a bunch of rangers that you can sit down and talk about, you know, quantum physics or something. I don't know. But we try to make these little neighborhoods just like you have at home, only dustier and with more lights and probably less clothing. And that's really our goal.
More bars.
Yeah, and another thing, we have a button. I think it says like our team wrecked Burning Man. And we get it wrong sometimes, right? It could be we put two camps next to each other, not realizing it. It could be that maybe we were looking at the emphasis of one of your activities with these other camps and didn't realize that this other activity was going to be more more prominent in your camp, and now you have two camps next to it. It's what happens. We have that sometimes. So we are volunteers and we are humans. So but we do absolutely try to strategize and make sure that we're putting camps in a unique kind of way so that everybody has a chance to kind of shine in their interactivity that they're providing to the city.
And adding on to that too, like when we're placing when I was figuring out the plazas, it's nice to do like a day and night to offset each other. So there is a bit of that type of strategy happening too, where you're really, if you have amazing frontage day and night, especially at night, put a photo of that in your questionnaire so we can see it. And that interactivity, because I definitely go in and look at that and to see, and then looking at the camps around you that are there to offset so that people who live near you have a varied experience.
Yeah, please send us your nighttime photographs. OMG. Like, a lot of you don't include your photographs. We can't see every single one of your camps. We went over this 10 minutes ago. Please send us photos of your camps. It's super helpful.
Full frontal camp pics. Send them.
And we love your campmates. We really, really do. Send us pictures without your campmates in front of your camp. We want to see your camp. We love your campmates. That's great too. If there's an opportunity for a third picture, send it. Send it. Let us see your campmates. But we want to see what your camp looks like during the day and again at night. So
also be careful what you're sending us. We get a lot of oopsie photos that are now attached to the questionnaire. So it's pretty funny. Well, at least we do in 7:30.
Thanks, y'all. I'm excited to see those muddy camp photos. You ready, Epiphany?
Yep. So our next question comes from Peggy, who is participating from a work support camp. They're asking for tips for camps who are giving their all as part of art support or a fire art safety team, who are not interactive in camp, but rather interactive with artists all day long at their art sites.
I will take, go ahead, Monday. Oh, okay. If you're part of a work support camp or an art support camp, you are not required to do interactivity. Your job is helping with that art, helping volunteering with those different organizations. Those camps typically get approvals from the management within within the department they're working with, or from Artery, right? To say, yes, these are approved to be work support. We don't expect anything from you. We would like to see some frontage. We'd like to see a sign that says your work support, because every year we get emails about this camp that was across the street that did nothing, and it was a work support or an art support, right? So your neighbors know what you are, then it makes it easier for them to not judge you by not knowing you, right? But we don't have a lot of expectations around those camps. If you're part of a theme camp and you volunteer, that's great. I don't know if it's you can put it into the questionnaire, make sure we know how much it is, but there is still an amount of interactivity that is necessary for theme camps, even if they have, like Monday and I, we both volunteer in we volunteer and we're part of a theme camp. I swear half our theme camp volunteers as well, but we do all the interactivity that needs to happen. We're a plaza camp, and it just kind of is what it is. So you got to keep that in mind as well.
All right, thanks, Bravo. Our next question comes from, did anybody else have to add to that?
It looked like Monday had something to say.
I just wanted to say the last thing I wanted to say to that is, yeah, if you are an art support camp or a work support camp, if you're a support camp, introduce yourself to the neighbors, like Bravo said, because that really goes like a real long way. Not just with your immediate neighbors, but like your whole neighborhood, because people want to know who you are and why there's seemingly nothing going on at your camp. And you also may have skills and abilities that they may require. Stuff breaks down all the time. People need help. So if you're a support camp, you should be support to the thing that you're doing, but you could also be support to your neighborhood, or even just emotional support for your neighborhood as well. So we really encourage you to meet the camps in your neighborhood. And, I think you see a lot of stuff that we're doing as a department to try and encourage you to do those things. So that's it.
All right. Our next question comes from D. Lundeen in the 730 sector. They say, we would like to share gray water disposal with our neighbors. Thus, we will likely need to do a hub. We are typically at 745 and G. Neighbors, pay attention. They don't want to move. We hope not to move. If we do a hub, we will lose our position. And will we lose our position in the suburbs? We love our little neighborhood.
I'll take the first stab at it. So as we had talked about earlier, like as soon as you apply as a hub, there is the possibility and risk that you're going to get moved around, because we're going to have to place you plus whoever else you're including in your hub. So that is part of the risk. But put it in there that you want to stay where you are, because if you're back in the burbs, like you said, I mean, it's a pretty good chance we're going to be able to place a hub back there with you. So just give us that information when you're applying for the hub. Bravo.
I think what's it was next.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, just barely next. First, and I know you really like your area. I think you said 740 NG, and that is a fantastic area. I'm gonna warn you, we are encouraged to move everybody around. Everybody around. And I think one of the things that happened, I used to be a theme camp lead. So I get it. You get in an area, you get to know the people who are generally around in that area, and you really love it. And that's where you want to be. It's home. It's home in the dust. And the next year you're put 3 blocks forward and 2 blocks over. And you're like, where are all of my little dusty peeps? They're not here anymore. But the thing is, then you meet new dusty peeps. Okay, so I'm not saying that we're going to move you from your favorite spot, but you may end up somewhere else even without joining into a hub. So do the hub as you want. I don't think there is a strategy to stay in the same spot. You can have a discussion with your lead placer and say, hey, this is what's going on. We've built this neighborhood, and they'll try to keep the little neighborhood together and maybe move you around the playa a little bit. We're here to make what you actually need work. But we are encouraged to move people around. So heads up on that.
Yeah, no one stays in the same spot. Even in 730, they don't. So I think the whole thing with hubs that you have to know, you realize, is that it's mostly the size and complexity of the hub. If you have 2 camps and both your camps are 100 by 100 camp, that's a 200 by 100 space. It's fairly small. If you're saying, hey, we have these 2 camps, we want to be in the back of the city in 730, that's pretty easy for us to accommodate. If you say, hey, I have 6 camps, we take up a total of a whole entire city block, and we want to be back in the back of the city, now this becomes more of a challenge. And we may not be able to do that. We may not be able to keep it together as a hub. So really the size of your hubs will make it, and complexity makes it more difficult for us to give you exactly what you want, or roughly in the area that you want. So if you have, once again, if you have an issue with that and you're concerned, send us an email. We could always give you a little more feedback on your specific situation.
All right. Anybody else? Thank you, Bravo. Our next question, I apologize if I mispronounce your name, from Tajewa at Disorient. With regard to interactivity, any thoughts on a camp building a thing or a space that is interactive versus presenting an activity where campers are directly interacting with passersby?
Could you repeat it again, the question?
Yes. Okay, so with regard to interactivity, any thoughts on a camp building a thing or a space that is interactive versus presenting an activity? So something passive versus an event that people are hosting, let's say, and campers are directly interacting with passersby.
Yeah, I'll just jump in here. So those are both great things to do, and we encourage you to do both of those things. but they're not weighted exactly the same for us. Like if you just set something up and like I can come by and everybody in your camp is asleep and I can have a great time with it, like that's cool. But think of it, it's like photography. Photographs with people in them are just naturally more engaging for human beings because we like faces, right? So think of it like that. You can have the most beautiful landscape photograph in your camp, and that's great. We can come by day or night. Everyone's asleep, everyone's gone. I can still interact with it. That's cool. I love that. But what I would love is that beautiful landscape photograph with like a person in it, you know, for me to like put scale to it, to put emotion to it, to put a story to it. And so, yeah, you know, both of these things are great, but they're not weighted exactly the same. You know, and I would much rather have the people in your camp have to interact with me, a passerby, than just something that I could stumble upon.
Yeah, and you know, we call that, you know, it's active versus passive interactivity. And passive interactivity is when you set something up for the people of the city to go and interact with. You don't have to be there. And it's great. We love it. And it's great when camps use that to help fill it out. So let's say the camp's doing things every day or 3 days a week. They're having some afternoon interactivity, but at nighttime, they have this cool little thing that's lit up that people can go in and interact themselves. They don't have to be there. That's great, right? It creates a larger amount of interactivity for that camp. But when you get into situations, and this is where, you know, we start struggling with it, where it's like, oh, we set up this thing that people come in and look at, and we don't have to be there. And there's 50 to 100 people in our camp. Then we start going, okay, how many people did it take to set up and maintain that passive interactivity? And now you have 100 people in your camp. You know, what are 10 people set it up and maintain it? What's the other 90 doing, right? And that's where we kind of struggle with really with camps that have a lot of passive interactivity. So we really like passive interactivity. It's great as an addition to active, you know, interactivity. But if you're only going to have passive, you really have to explain to us how your camp mates that are part of your camp, you know, how that works out, right?
More questions. More
Okay.
questions.
This question is from Craig. Since the PCQ will not include, quote, camp within a village, unquote, as a camp type, but village mayors were allowed to submit for steward sale tickets for 2024 via the statement of intent, how should each camp lead identify their camp in the PCQ so they are not placed separately from their village?
Is this a Papa Bear question, or should we answer this? Yeah, I think Hubs
Go
is
for it.
Papa Bear is probably the guy.
Yeah, except I was staring at the chat and missed the question. What was the question?
Okay. This question is from Craig. Since the PCQ will not include camp within a village as a camp type, but village mayors were allowed to submit for steward sale tickets for 2024 via the statement of intent, how should each camp lead identify their camp in the PCQ so they are not placed separately from their village?
Yeah, you'll want to form a hub if you are looking to be similar to what your village used to be. And so each camp each camp that was within your village will want to register as a camp type they are. Most of you all will be theme camps. So if your primary focus is the in-camp interactivity within your camp, you'll just register as a theme camp. If you have camps that were within your village that did, you know, art installations or lots of volunteering or have a mutant vehicle, they could be a support camp also and still be in that hub. And then you'll want to choose one person that could be your previous mayor, or it could be someone else who is a camp lead, because we do ask those questions within the Placed Camp Questionnaire. So someone who is a camp lead currently for a camp that's going to be in your hub, they will be the hub's liaison with placement. And we'll answer all the very specific hub questions for that. So just one person for that. They also need to be a camp lead. And then we'll get you all put together because you'll be in a hub, and we just need to have that information from you. So yeah, you're independent camps now, unless you want to merge, which is a whole other thing, and become like one large mass or multiple bigger masses that want to hub together. But definitely if you want to keep your identity, you want to have the direct resources of tickets and WAPs coming straight to you in the future, then you want to form a hub and fill out accordingly.
Great, thank you, Papa Bear. Our next question comes from Galena. Can we send additional details about our activities to the placers via email outside of the PCQ? I'm assuming they're talking about interactivity.
Yes. If
All
there's something there, and if they forgot something, they can always email us and let us know, or send us pictures as well. But don't contact us through the Facebook for Facebook groups. If you message us on Facebook, it might be weeks before we actually see it. So please send an email.
Not a good channel. Got it. Okay, email only. So Galena also asks, can I send the pictures of a structure that is going to be in front of our camp this year to get a better placement? They say, I'm building a Dorset museum.
She's building a what museum?
Dorset, D-O-R-S-E-T, museum.
That's pretty cool. And I would always say, yes, send more pictures. Send more pictures, send us pictures. If you can make one picture with all of the pictures on it, so it's easier for us to look at the pictures, that's even better. But we want to see what you're bringing. We're excited about it. If it's amazing art, we want to know about it. What are you putting out in the front? So show us. Really, we are your biggest fans.
Right on. Lauren Dix asks, will this will be our first time filling out the PCQ. Any pro tips? Someone who's never done it before, what would you say?
Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Okay, so my number one pro tip, I love all of you. I love all of you. I love every single manifesting mother ecker of you. Okay, I really, really do. But when you're filling out the PCQ, be concise. Okay, because I'm reading hundreds of these, and I don't mean just 100, okay? Hundreds of camp lists. And when you start manifesting on the camp description, and you're telling me how you're going to evoke the feeling of walking into the Amazon jungle with the shaman and the this. I mean, that's great. That's marvelous. Be concise. Oh, it's going to be a jungle theme, and we're going to have shaman popping out with little stuffed mushrooms, and they're going to be beating people very gently on the legs as they pass through our forest. Telling stories is really great, but tell us a story with facts and preciseness, because we still have days of reading these ahead of us. And it's like, you know, when you go on the internet and you find a really great recipe and you want to print it out, and you've got to go through 84 pages of this person talking about their dog and how it, you know, had this great outing or whatever before you get to, it's like that. Okay, give us the recipe. Give us the recipe, please. Please. And don't take it too seriously. Have some fun with it. If you have a sense of humor in there, fill out all the information, and not all of it will go to our department. It is very long. That's because we're getting information for art. We're getting information for FAST, and we're getting information for the Rangers. We're getting information for like everybody on the entire freaking project. But so do fill out everything that applies to you, but also have fun with it. Okay? And just the recipe would be great. Thank you.
So if you have a dog, you should apply to be in what's its section. No dogs, no dogs. Okay.
Stuffed dogs. Stuffed
Yes,
dogs.
stuffed dogs. Okay. Stitch is asking, I don't think I've ever seen a map of the general neighborhoods of Black Rock City. I know about the Queerberhood around 730 and the sound camps at the outer edges. But is there a general plan of where certain camps will go, like Kidsville, Hushville, etc.?
I will start with this. So if you want, there is a map, a general map on burningman.org that you can look and see, which kind of has the sectors laid out. You could also go look at the MOOT map if you want to see where camps in general have been laid out from the previous year. As far as like sectors, the only thing we really have is that the large scale sound camps go at 2 and 10. The majority of the city is based around where people decide they want to go and where they select when they're filling out their questionnaires where they want to be. for example, the Queerhood in 730, a lot of those camps all apply to be in 730, so it ends up to have a large population like that. 9 o'clock tends to have a lot of other kind of loud
Booty.
camps, right? So yeah, just like that. I wonder why. But we don't take camps. The only ones that we do are 2 and 10, Hushville and
Kidsville.
Well, Hushville is just a theme camp. Kidsville is kids, right? So we do pay special attention to Kidsville, but yeah, we don't specifically put any camps in any area other than 2 and 10 with that large scale sound.
Right. Okay. Robert, who has experienced sardine syndrome, is one of 3 camp leads in a village of 13 camps. They're asking, is there a maximum square footage limit, or should we anticipate the need to cut from the village in order to grow and increase safety of frontage and participant gathering?
I'll take this one, and my computer is telling me my internet is unstable, so if I get cut off, somebody else pick up where I left off, okay? Yeah, it used to be, back when Burning Man was awesome, that people could have as much room as they wanted because there was just scads and scads of room. I'm going to speak to your sardine comment. Other people can speak to the rest of it. And lately, about just before the pandemic, there was a meeting with some open camping citizens, participants, who emphasized how open camping was getting smushed and all of these theme camps were just getting really big and bloated. There was all this open space in their camp. They weren't trying to conserve and make room for other people who maybe were coming in once the event starts. And we heard that, and we included that as part of the cultural direction setting going on. So we do squeeze camps more now than we have in the past because we're trying to retain that feeling of openness to people who aren't part of a theme camp, people who are open camping, people who maybe bring their own unregistered theme camp out into open camping. And so that means that's going to be a little bit more snug for you. But we found it makes a big difference when people show up and there's a place for them to camp. That changes their whole outlook rather than getting there and just running into this wall of people in open camping. And they're just not being a suitable place to camp. So if you're feeling a little squished in your space, it's probably because we looked at your map and we said, well, here is 100 by 100 foot square open space and they play soccer once a week. And that's why there's this 100 foot by 100 foot. That 100 foot by 100 foot probably isn't going to be saved for your soccer spot, or it will go out into maybe places on the map where there is a little bit more room. You know, maybe you have your soccer game out in walking camping or something. You know, we're trying to find something where you can still do your interactivity, but it doesn't take up as much room. So that's something to consider when you're drawing out your map. How much space am I using, especially for the number of people I have?
Can you reread the question? Because I thought there was a village aspect of it in there.
Yes. We're talking about Robert's question regarding the village of 13 camps. Is there a maximum square footage limit, or do we need to plan to cut?
Is that what you're going to respond to, Papa Bear? See your hands up.
Yeah. I was gonna say that yes, we do have a capacity on the largest camp size, and that is 160,000 square feet, or generally 400 by 400 is what that works out to. And we estimate that's about 400 people. We will not place camps, individual camps, larger than 160,000 square feet. So the question that was asked, though, was about 13 camps in a village and squeezing room. Villages are no longer a category. So unless you are mushing all of those into one single large theme camp, you'll be capped at 160,000 square feet. But if you are breaking up into a hub and staying as individual camps, then you can ask the space that you need, and you're really just restricted by the size of the block at that point in time. Average block sizes are around 1,000 feet from avenue to avenue, avenues being like 830, 333. Those are the avenues, the numbers. 1,000 feet between those numbers, and 250 feet deep between letter streets, the circular ones like A, B, C, and D. Of course, that's a pretty large thing. If you're looking for an entire block, it's always interesting. We might have a conversation with you as being a giant hub like that in advance. But you are certainly welcome, if you are that big, to apply as a hub that big, and we'll have a conversation with you. But in general, it shouldn't be too much problem with you being squeezed like sardines if you are forming a hub and being individual camps, because your camp should be the size that makes sense for you. And we will, of course, review your interactivity based on your camp size. So the bigger your camp is, the more interactivity you should have, or else you might not get placed. And that's just the reality there. And Monday, it's not quantity, it's quality, is so effing true.
And I'm just going to pop in here with a time check for us. I was going to give us another half an hour to probably even a little more time if we need to get through our questions. And we'll also have breakout sectors for more questions as well.
All right, our next question is from Rachel. They want to know, is it possible to switch to an art support camp after submitting a statement of intent as a theme camp?
Papa Bear?
Yeah, switching to an art support after submitting as a theme camp. If you are receiving tickets from us as a theme camp, you are expected to be a theme camp. If we send you an allocation email saying placement's giving you X amount of tickets, you are expected to be a theme camp this year. And if you are switching now or thinking about switching now to focus on your art installation through the art department, you would be getting tickets from them for that project. And so please email us before or by March 6th at 12 p.m. so that we can adjust your SOI, cancel your tickets, and let you move on. If you accept those tickets, purchase them, and then later on down the road are like, hey, I'm actually not doing this, this could affect your standing in the future. It could affect your access to stewards tickets in the future. And we do, of course, talk to other departments. We're not that siloed and have conversations. So please do it right and only accept tickets for the projects that you're working on. And let us know in advance. Email us.
All right. And the next question is Pegorama wants to know, would you recommend that Art Support Services form a hub with Fire Art Safeties Camp if we're wanting to be placed together, or just request each other on the form? Yes, Papa Bear.
No, Monday will take it. Monday will take it.
Oh, okay.
I'll say, if there is a compelling reason for you to be a hubs, like you're sharing resources, then for sure be a hubs. But if you just want to be near each other because you like each other, just put each other down in your camp questionnaire, because hubs have to have a compelling reason to be together. Are you sharing resources? Are you sharing personnel? Are you doing something together? If you're not doing those things, guess what? You're not a hubs. Probably not going to put you next to each other, because we're going to be upset that you made us do the sleuthing to figure it out, that you were just pulling the wool over our eyes. So if you just want to be near your friends, put each other down in your camp questionnaire. We have a spreadsheet at 9 o'clock. We check all that stuff. If you and your friends, if you put each other down, we're probably going to put you next to each other. So, I think that's it. If you're a hubs, be a hubs. If you just want to be next to each other, just try to be next to each other.
All right, thanks, Monday. Alia asks, I'm starting a new camp for the first time this year. We're a small camp with about 10 people, and we're trying to optimize costs. Is there a good source to rent big and expensive stuff from, like generators and fridges, instead of buying? Monday.
Well, oh, wow. That's really awkward. It's never happened to me before, I swear. I will say, if you're a new camp and you are trying to rent a bunch of really expensive things, I would take a second to think about what it is that you're actually trying to do. Because a big problem that we see are new camps or smaller camps biting off a lot more than, not that they can chew, but that they should chew. And we end up having to do the Heimlich maneuver when these camps end up chewing, this big thing. What I would recommend is if you are a smaller camp or a new camp and you want to do something big, you need big power, or you need a reefer truck or something like that, reach out to other camps in the community, because the thing is that we don't need to bring all the crap we all bring to Burning Man. Like, that's just a fact. And the reason why Hubs exists is to encourage us all to reach out and work together and share our resources. So I know that's not exactly answering your question. I used to be the lead of a really big theme camp that did have to rent all that nightmare stuff. But there is no easy answer to that. It's just you're going to have to shop around. So, but I would encourage you to see if you could shop around within the Burning Man community and pair up with some bigger camps.
Yeah, also as a new camp, there's a great place in Facebook, a theme camp organizers group that's made up of theme camp leaders, where they talk about all sorts of things, what's best for their camp, where could they rent or buy something, should you use the lag screws, all sorts of different questions are answered there. So I recommend you going out and looking there. It's a group of your peers, and they'll be able to help you better understand what you really need, and if there is an opportunity, to rent or share with other people. Great place to go.
There's also a TCO group on Hive as well, and I think we have those links we can enter to the chat for you. Daryl is asking, last year we were moved to the green zone. Was that because we are transitioning to solar from small inverter generators?
Oh, that was my sector last year. And in a way, yes, we actually went out and looked for people who were doing a lot of really good leave no trace, people who were composting, people who had wonderful solar plans, people who had small and dinky solar plans that other people could easily accomplish, all sorts of renewable resource stuff, just the cool stuff. And we made a green corridor. And I think it was really fun to go around and be able to see everybody. Did you like being in the green corridor? Somebody nod.
All right. Galina is asking, how can we contact placers if we have a problem with a placement, like not enough space after we arrive at Burning Man?
Well, we have a fancy new placement office on Playa. It's a great place for them to go. It's, what's the address? Like 545 in Esplanade, right there where it opens up. So yes, you can go there. If you can't find us, drive around in our carts. You can go to the placement office and look for us. Sorry if I jumped in front of you, Cosmic.
I was going to say the exact same thing, but also to make sure that when you get your You Are Placed email, that you check the dimensions that are on the email and look at your map and make sure all that evens out for you and what's happening, and keep it can be dynamic, right? Where your things are changing, but it's difficult to change and give you space on Playa once you're there. So, we need to know information like that beforehand, especially if it's something that we could change before we get there. We try, but it's hard once you get to Playa. And although Bravo did a great thing last year, he found space for a camp, he was able to let them park their cars in some space where people didn't show up. So we definitely do stuff like that on the fly, but check your You Are Placed email, please, when it comes out. That's it.
Yeah, and I'd like to sort of stretch what Cosmic said a little bit here. And it's really rare for us to have enough room to move you without your moving to as far away from open Playa as is possible. That's generally where there's room, and only if an open camper hasn't settled in there yet. It might not even be the sector you want at that point. So really do what Cosmic said. Check your dimensions when you get that placement letter. Mistakes do happen. We're human beings just like you. Maybe you filled in the wrong number, maybe we filled in the wrong number, but check for that and let us know as soon as possible. The earlier you let us know there's a problem, the better. More likely we'll be able to do something.
All right, thank you. Galina had also asked earlier in the talk about how to create a layout for the placement questionnaire if they don't know what their lot size is. And then there's additional comment about not being experts in CAD or SketchUp. So are there resources or tips you have for this? What's it?
Okay, first of all, you have to know that one of my very favorite maps ever, someone did it in Legos. I kid you not. They laid out all the little tents or little squares with the Lego, and then there was the big shade space that was a bigger Lego, and they had little pieces of paper taped to it. It was the cutest gosh darn thing you have ever seen. Okay, I can't do CAD either. What do I look like? Genius here? No, we've had people draw them out. Yeah, doing it on the computer, that's really nice and clean and concise, and it makes it look really profi. But we realized we're not all profi. Some of us don't spend our lives on computers or online. And it's not going to be super fancy, and that's okay. As for not knowing what size you're going to get, of course you don't know what size you're going to get, and that's okay. What size did you ask for? Make the map to fit the size that you asked for. Okay? Because we're listening to you. We want to see, with the size that you're requesting, how are you laying out your camp in that size? You know, why is it not smaller? Why is it not bigger? Maybe you're stuffing too much in there and we don't think you're going to be able to make it. So make it creative. That'd be great. Do it. Go take pictures of everybody's little tent, squeeze them down and just like tape them to a piece of paper so we know, okay, that's a lot of work. Maybe don't do that.
I'm going to add to that on that camp layouts page I just dropped into the chat. We have Figma files or assets that you can use. And Figma is a really simple, easy drawing program that is not CAD. It's not Illustrator. It doesn't require, you need to sign into it, but it doesn't require a lot of money. And it's not an Adobe thing. I can't draw for crap personally. Mapping is really just lots of lines and writing names of camps in. And so that has helped me to do my own camp layouts. And now they're very, very pretty. And you can find that link on the camp layouts page. I'll also add, there's a new thing coming this year that we haven't really talked about yet, but I'm excited for. And that is that the first roll of camp layouts that you'll be submitting is really just for the placers to look at and get an idea of like what it is that you're doing so they can map you better. And it's okay if that changes in the future, because once you get your announcement of where you are, what your address is, what your dimensions are, we're actually going to ask you for a final and official camp layout, a new one that shows the dimensions that you're at, that you have, and is that final operational layout that us and fire and safety and petrol and storage, depending if you have a petrol contract or have a big RC storage container. And so fire departments and ESD have a better idea of what they're getting into if there's an emergency at your camp, or they need to deliver something to you because you signed a contract, the Burn Man project. So you don't need to focus so much on the camp layout that you're first submitting. It just needs to be something that we can understand. So for your interactivity, because placers are mostly concerned about what's your interactivity and where that's going to be and what are the big spaces for there. And that secondary final camp layout that's going to be coming up after you get your announcement in June, that's the one we're going to love to see exactly what you're doing. And that will be, and you'll have your dimensions in for that one.
Great, thank you. Monday used some language around sharing personnel. PETA is curious if people resource sharing is something that is okay to include for our hubs application.
I think I'll jump on that one. We do imagine hubs, generally you're looking to be sharing things like power and sharing things like water or that kind of thing. But we do understand that workforce happens between, or maybe you're planning a block party action style thing, and like you're doing a takeover of your friend's camp for something. And that's okay. You can tell us about it. It's great. I'm not sure that only having people work from one camp, do stuff at another camp is going to be what would approve your hub or not. We probably need to see some more things. But I will add as a caveat that I think I'm pretty sure last year, most of the hubs that we denied as a hub because they weren't really doing something that approved them as a hub, they all got placed next to each other anyways. And that is the reality, is that we do pay attention to your requests of who you want to be near and take it very seriously and try our best to make that happen. And that's that whole thing of like, you can not form a hub and still request to be next to your friends, and we will do what we can for that. So I wouldn't be too concerned about it in the long run.
Okay, thank you, Papa Bear. W. Stemwell has a question with some content. So they say the steward ticket sale is very early for some camps. Without a full camp, we have whoever has the money purchase the tickets. Even then, we may not have enough campers to purchase our allotment. It isn't until later that the camp knows who is coming early for bill, leaving late for strike, etc. This leaves the camp vulnerable to campers that may take the tickets and run with no recourse. How about a reservation for tickets with the future date from the camp to invite camp members and the campers to purchase them? Level answered this question in the chat. Brady Cat, do you want to share that with us?
Yeah, I can read that out loud. Level says, whoops, ticket sales are required at the times they are set to keep the operations running for Burning Man Project, the org. The timing of those cannot change. When they were originally established, Steward Sales, formerly DTS, we wanted to make sure that camps who bring so much of the culture and interactivity could secure tickets before the main sale that are open for everyone in the public. Unfortunately, if you don't have people committed enough at this point to be willing to purchase tickets, you may need to rethink the size of your ideas and plans. If you can't purchase tickets now, there are later sales besides Stewards that are available that you can wait for, and often a healthy resale market later in the season.
Yeah, I'm
Does
going to jump on
that-
top of that
Yeah.
and say historically in the past, we've had theme camps concerned that ticket sales were so late because they didn't know how many tickets they were going to be able to access, and so couldn't plan effectively how many people were going to be able to come on board, and so couldn't plan what they were going to do for interactivity. So at the moment, we're kind of torn between y'all, and so we're going to make it when we can make it, pretty much.
Thank you, Whatsit. If you have questions, please put them in the chat. If you're not sure if you should ask your question, the chances if you have it, someone else does, and the answer could benefit everyone. Our next question comes from Sean. Will there be green zones in every sector? We are going to be completely sustainable this year.
Wouldn't that be awesome? I would love green zones. Get more people to go with renewable energy. If they can afford it, if they have the finances, if they have that sort of privilege, let's do that and bring it out and have green zones everywhere. That would be marvelous. You know, and I also want to emphasize that the green zone that we had yesterday wasn't designed to contain all of the renewable resource camps that came and brought their solar and stuff. There were still solar camps scattered throughout the city. So yeah.
Papa Bear, do you have any more details on that? Because that was based off, those camps were based off the Green Project, correct? At least there was a group of camps?
Yeah, I have not actually heard what's happening with the Green Corridor this year, although I think I saw Level briefly in chat answering things about, and maybe that wasn't him, chats flying by around that you can still be sustainable. You don't have to be in the Green Corridor. If we do that again, and in fact, we do want to spread sustainability across the city so that everyone can see it. And I think the corridor idea was to sort of like hyper focus on that, so people had a place to go and check out some cool things going on. But really, inevitably, sustainability should be everywhere, and that will be the goal.
All right. Robert asks, is it true all dimensions should be metric this year just to make the whole thing standardized?
No, it should be in hogsheads.
I'll just add, just because we're trying to get more international campers, that Esperanto is the preferred language to fill out your application with. So your camp questionnaire, Esperanto preferred. You can use the large language models. It'll help you out, or, any of those translation services.
We'll be weighing how much playa you take home in your vehicles in stone.
Right on. Okay. Puppy asks, where do I ask questions about fuel storage? We have a small camp and we only store a few gallons of gas for a small backup generator. We would like to have cars parked next to our fuel storage. If they aren't going anywhere, there shouldn't be ignition sources. Where can I find out if such things are okay? And inventory says, same question here. Following the guidelines for fuel storage as described on the Burning Man pages would literally double the size of our plot. Hoping for the name of someone to contact to discuss our specifics.
Well, can I take the other one? We are getting our mapping support people up and running soon, and so you can email to have conversation about fire and safety around that. But generally, that first thing you said was totally correct, and that is that if you're parking your car for the entire event, it is not an ignition source. An RV or a housing trailer would consider that because you have lights, you have electricity running through it. You may be using a camp stove in there, etc. That is ignition sources because you're using power within that thing. But a parked car is not, so it can be within that 10-foot. I think it's 10 feet from a non-ignition source. So that does help. Like personally, for my camp, when I was doing all of our fuels, we had our fuel depot 10 feet away from our parked cars, and that's totally fine. They are working on some more conversations around the fire dimensions, and things may change. So please keep an eye out, and I'll drop a link straight to the fire and safety page to check out. But we don't have that information yet. So currently you have to go with what we say on the website, but please keep an eye out because we may be doing some updates to that will make it better for camps. Fingers crossed that the federal government says yes, and just keep an eye out because it's really up to them and not us.
Thank you. This is great information. Ryan says, for new camps that are limited to layouts no larger than 100 by 100, are there common camp sizes we should gravitate to, like 50 by 100, 100 by 50, or 75 by 100, etc.?
All camp sizes are terrible. So there's no camp size you can give us that's going to be good because we have to Tetris them all together no matter what. So do what works best for your camp and we will figure it out.
All right. Jordy asks, why do some camps seem to get an allotment that is so close to their camp size and others do not? As a theme or art camp of about 20, this will be our third placed year. We get 4 tickets from camp and 2 from art, which is obviously significantly less than our needs.
Well, nobody else is going to say the hard thing, so I'm going to do it. DGS and art tickets aren't meant to supply your entire camp with tickets. I wish we had the ticket numbers to be able to do that, but they're not. What they are is it gives you the ability to get at least some of your camp in. It gives you a foot up on the rest of the Black Rock City citizens as a camp who is bringing interactivity, who is bringing something fun and engaging for all of the other participants and citizens to have fun with and to make the city. You get access, additional access to these tickets. And it would be really lovely if we could get your whole camp in on them, but we just can't. We're not given the ticket numbers to do that.
Thank you, Watson. It's hard truth. Marissa asks, I know it says it won't affect placement, but the question about carbon offset is throwing me. When I go to the carbon footprint calculator, it isn't clear how we as a camp should do it.
Okay, I want this one. Okay, in my day job, one of the things that I do is I write grants, okay, for ecological and environmental rescuing work, that sort of thing. And I'm always having to fill out these greenhouse gas forms for government agencies, for gosh sakes. The freaking EPA looks at my numbers and it's really, really scary and it's really hard to do. And you think I'd know how to do it, but you know what I don't? What I do instead is I go to EPA.gov and I look at their greenhouse gas calculator. And they have a calculator where you can plug in, oh, I have 2 lights. I use this many gallons of fuel, and it will give you back either the greenhouse gas emissions that you're causing, or if you have a solar power system that you saved. So check out EPA.gov. There are other greenhouse gas emission calculators out there if the one at the link isn't working. And when it comes down to it, estimate. Do your best. I don't want anybody here losing sleep over not being able to accurately figure out what your greenhouse gas emissions are, okay? Even the government agencies, if I get a greenhouse gas emission numbers wrong, they don't throw a hissy fit. It's okay. Their scientists just say, hey, I think you forgot this little aspect of it. I'm like, oh, thank you. That's awesome. And that's the ethos that we're bringing to you. Okay, we're not going to be like, oh, you're 0.3 off on your metric tons of greenhouse gases saved. That's, do the best that you can, enter that number in. There are calculators online. That's the short and sweet.
Thank you, Watson. And Patrick has a similar challenge. While we'd love to move towards more solar, we're a 2 mutant vehicle support camp this year and will need fuel storage. The space needed for fuel storage requires significant space. Any insight on how to address this?
Yeah, I think I kind of answered that question a little bit earlier, and there's not much you can work around the current regulations set by the Bureau of Land Management and their fire and safety personnel. But one thing you can do if you do have a neighbor, either someone you're in a hub with or someone you ask to be a neighbor with, or we do tell you who your neighbors are now, which is great. That happens in July, but now you do find out who your neighbors are and you can communicate with them, is that you can share a fire depot or a fuel depot. So having that communication in advance, figuring that out, and mixing that depot together, it still can't be over 110 gallons of liquid fuels or 110 gallons of non-liquid fuels like propane. But you can share a fuel depot, and that is, again, that's what I did with my camp last year. Is we shared a fuel depot between 3 camps. And that was great because then it was really only taking as much space away as 1 camp would need for 3 camps. Helped everybody out.
Yeah, and if you have any farmers or ranchers in your midst who drive big trucks with fuel boxes in the back, maybe 100-gallon fuel box, that is a really great way to store fuel. It's DOT approved. So I think maybe Papa Bear can speak to this, but I think DOT approved is just like having a gas tank in your car.
Yes and no. You do not need to have a secondary containment for it, but it will count towards your 110 gallons. And you don't need to be parked, 25 feet away from an ignition source and 100 feet away from someone else's fuel depot.
Well, it's going to be tricky starting the truck then, isn't it?
Yeah. At least till you move, till you leave. But yeah.
All right. Sarah asks, as far as the new center camp configuration, are you looking for certain types of camps in and around center camp? If we are a 10-person coffee camp, are we too small and too simple for the center camp area?
As the lead for 6 this year, who will be placing center camp, you are not too small. We love small camps. Bring me your small camps. Bring me your small camps. 10-person coffee camp, fantastic. Not too simple, but I want you to have frontage. Oh, sweet pea on a biscuit. Okay, have frontage. Think about your frontage. What do you look like? Are you going for like a little German konditorei with pretty lights on it so you sparkle at night? Please? Are you going to do something flashy? Are you going to make some really cool like stand up with things with like the fabric lining on the middle so you have these beautiful tall lanterns out 24/7, something that really catches the eye? Okay, center camp is going to be one of the shining jewels this year, so we want lots of brilliant frontage. It doesn't have to be you don't have to be a millionaire manufacturing something glossy and glitzy, okay? You can be regular folk making beautiful things that catch the eye. All right, don't think that just because you're a 10-person camp, you won't fit in center camp. I'm specifically looking for lots of small, fantastic, fabulous camps. So bring it. And everybody needs coffee, so bring that too.
I thought we were putting district in center camp this year.
I keep forgetting that I agreed to that. I keep forgetting. Aren't they moving into the main center structure?
put 'em right there.
Oculus? Yeah, 100%. You heard it here first, everybody. Also, Bravo's a jokester, so
Yeah, that's just a joke.
All right, Marissa asks, when it asks for household size, should we list our camp size? I'm assuming that means in the PCQ.
I think she's talking about the carbon footprint form.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%. Probably do your camp size, like how many people are in your house, aka your camp.
Thanks, everyone. I think we have a time for a few more questions, and then we'll do a wrap up and hop up into our breakout rooms.
All right. Chariot asks, are there any neighborhoods that propane fire pits are not allowed? I've heard that Center Camp, now Center Plaza, did not allow us to have a propane fire pit. From the org site, note that store-bought, UL-approved patio heaters, fire pits, lamps, and lanterns, cooking units, and other unmodified UL-approved appliances that burn LP gas are not considered flame effects for the purposes of this section. So does that mean we do have to note fire pits on our camp layout or not? We have put them on our map before, and the fire guy said that's not what we mean when he came by to inspect.
Yes, you need to put them on your camp mat for placement, but no, they are not flame effects and don't have to be checked by the flame guys at Burning Man. We like to know what they are. And also our camp, Awkward and Tawdry, used to be in their center camp inner circle, and we had a fire pit there, so that's totally fine. I don't think there's any place in the city that you can't have a propane fire pit.
Thanks, Bravo. W. Stemwell says, can it be changed that the camp can purchase stewards tickets versus the camp members or a percentage of each? The camp is entrusted to allot these tickets to campers that are needed to operate the camp. To do this, it helps if we can allot the tickets as these campers are identified at a later date. Like I said, quality versus quantity.
And then Level answered it right in the chat there. And unfortunately, we do not allow one person to purchase more than 2 tickets. And so that's just the reality of how the system works. And we probably won't see any changes. And I would add that placement's really not in charge of the ticketing system. We just want to give you tickets to make sure you can do your thing. And we have what we have, and we want to help you bring your thing.
We just work here.
We just work here.
All right. Robert says, does placement consider Google Earth views if submitted upon request for additional space? This would be for a theme camp with passive and interactive offerings.
I guess they're saying that they want to submit the Google Earth picture of their camp from the previous year. I'm assuming that's what, if they're saying they can do that, if they're trying to clarify how their camp is set up. I think that's what they're saying. We do use the Google Earth. We look at camps, and sometimes we do have camps that use space well and camps that don't use it as well. So we will talk to camps about their sizes, especially if they're a large camp that's not using their space inefficiently. If a camp feels like they need more space and they want to use the Google map to help in their argument for more space, I wouldn't use that as one of the 2 pictures that they put in with it. I would say that they should have a conversation with us and probably send an email to the placement with that image, so we can talk about why they would need more space than we give them.
Great, thank you, Bravo. We have one more question. In the TCO group, several camps have expressed concerns about lack of returning campers. I'm leaning toward taking a year off, but some of my campers still want to attend. Should we just split off part of the camp and apply as a smaller new camp?
I can kind of answer. I kind of part of that question. We are looking for camps to take a year off because we have hit a scarcity model at Burning Man. There's not enough space for everybody, and so the more camps that are able to take 1 year off or 2 years off in a row, allow more tickets and more resources for other people. If you have already gotten your stewards allocation and you're thinking about reducing the size of your camp, that is okay, but you do need to email us by March 6th so that we can adjust those numbers and accordingly and allocate your tickets based on what you are going to be doing versus what you said you were going to do when we reviewed and approved your SOI. I would really suggest just contacting us at placement@burningman.org if you have kind of detailed questions to see what's going on. In general, though, reducing the size of your camp in the future or splitting off and doing something new with the steward tickets that we allocated you for a specific project could affect your standing and access of stewards in the future. So do definitely communicate with us ASAP about your thoughts so we can work with you personally to figure out the best path forward for you.
Great, thank you. And Papa Bear, what is the camp handbook?
Yeah, so last year we introduced the Placed Camp Handbook. It's a huge document manual that we put together of all the things that we could find that might affect you as a person putting on a camp. Resources, that information that you should know and have access to easily, including a few extra sort of tips and tricks that we could think of things that are asked of us regularly that aren't on the other website pages or don't make sense to have on the website. And so we currently still have the 2023 version up, but we're looking that in March, we hope to have 2024 going and updated and ready for you. There shouldn't be too many changes. I think you can probably check out 2023 to get an idea of what's going on and what that camp handbook has in store for you. But check out in March for the 2024 version. And I think it's a valuable resource, and I hope you all can check it out. I'll drop the link. That will not change. We will update directly to that link in March. So you can use that in the future to find the 2024 version when it's up, and it'll be pretty obvious. It'll say 2024 at the top.
Right on, thank you. Bratty Cat, that's all for our questions.
Can I just respond to the other part of that question? Because they asked if they take the year off, what's their campmates that want to do? They can form a theme camp if they want, that's fine. But there's plenty of camps out there. I mean, there's people on the chat already that says they don't have enough people for their camps. So community, right? Join another camp, talk to your friends. We have multiple people that join our camp when their camp takes a year off and then goes back when it comes back. I've done that in the past. So, take the opportunity to make new friends and join new camps.
I'm going to add on to that. I've actually seen Facebook starting to blow up now with people who are taking a year off as camp organizers, and they're looking for other camps. And there are some Facebook groups specifically for camps for campers. And I read these bios of someone who's like, I'm taking the year off, but I ran a camp for 20 years, blah, blah, blah. Still just wanting to come to Burning Man and help do stuff. And I do all these things. And I'm like, wow, if I was running a camp, I would totally be like, yeah, I will take an experienced theme camp organizer who wants to come help out. That sounds great. So, take a year off and go explore other options, other camps. It's happening right now. And people will probably be looking just for you.
And I think probably it's obvious, but we need to know if the camp is taking the year off.
Yeah, before March 6th, please.
Before March 6th.
Well, I think that's it for now.
Can
Do you
I
have
answer
anything else to add?
Can I answer Rockstar's question?
The last question.
Okay, and it's
We'll also still have breakout rooms as well.
Yeah, it says any plans for better sound enforcement? And then Gary's like, yes, yes, yes. And Baby Doll, I hear you. I hear your voices on this, okay? It's 90 decibels or less within the city. That means when that mutant vehicle crosses Esplanade, it drops down to 90 decibels or less. Okay, and we don't carry decibel meters, but 20 feet from the source of sound, if you can have a regular conversation, not a loud one where you're projecting, a regular conversation like you're in the grocery market or something, then you're okay. If it's over that, they need to bring that sound down. And if they're not, if it's a mutant vehicle, please tell the DMV. If it's a camp, please tell placement. tell the rangers. Okay, the more of us that you tell, the more we can try to ameliorate it. And yeah, I hear you. The art car that blasted music at 3:30 in the morning while driving by camp. The sector that I live in, I police pretty tightly. 3 o'clock knows now. You don't boom it in 3 o'clock. You don't. You just don't, because placement will show up. Okay, I'm moving to 6. They haven't met me yet, but 6 o'clock will be enjoying the 90 decibels or less. Okay, so we need your help though. You need to alert us when there's a camp or a mutant vehicle who's routinely having trouble. Everybody makes mistakes. Okay, we're not going to get it, but we're also not the cops. Do you know what I'm saying? There's that balance there. But 90 decibels or less, this is getting more and more serious, and we're really starting to take a look at it more as the years go on. So thank you for supporting.
Was it clarify? It's actually 60 decibels from the center of the street or from your neighbor camp's boundary.
You're right.
Yeah, 90 was what it used to be for years, but so it's 60 decibels. And I dropped the link in the chat so you can check out the sound policy, but it's 60 decibels from the center of a city street if you're standing there, or from the boundary line of your neighbor's camp. And that 60 decibels, decibel meters can do what they can do, but really it's just like, can you have a conversation with your neighbor about their sound without having to yell? As long as you can have a conversation with them, it's fine. If you have to yell about it, it's different. And the thing is, like, decibels don't really work with bass. So bass is a whole nother situation. And that sometimes is really the thing that kind of bugs people, because you can feel it in your bones. And really the thing is, have a conversation with your neighbors, talk to them about it. We need you to do your own self-policing and work with your neighbors on that kind of thing. And otherwise, after that, rangers can come in and have a conversation if you can't figure it out. And if it needs to, rangers will escalate to placement, or unless you're What's-It who runs out in her slippers, will find you directly.
And
Yeah, literally my slippers, people.
Right, we have the placement office, and so come find us, right? I mean, we get a lot of emails after the event where 2 camps had an issue and we didn't hear about it on Playa. If it is a theme camp to theme camp issue that we can come and help resolve, then please come find us at the placement office. We're there, and we're working during the event as well, and we will come out and help resolve it. It's a lot easier for us to do it then and there than in an email 2 months after the event.
And I will add that mutant vehicles have a slightly different, they have the same city policy, as in they have to be like 60 decibels before they hit your camp as they pass by, like at your boundary, basically. But they have quiet hours. Camps do not. Camps can play 24 hours if they want to, as long as they do that 60 decibels. Mutant vehicles do need to be quiet during certain hours. I have to go look it up because we're not the DMV and I can't remember off the top of my head. I'll find that link and drop it real fast. But and if you do see a mutant vehicle driving within the city that's supposed to not be playing music anymore because during those quiet hours, please go to the DMV. They are also on near our office on Open Playa. They would love to hear about mutant vehicles that are not following the rules.
Perfect.
That sounds right. 2 a.m. to 10 a.m. Thanks, Sprinkles.
Perfect. I think that's our last question. Anything else to add? Going once, going twice. I think we've actually done the impossible for our first time with an Ask a Placer session, is getting through most of the questions. There will always be more. And once again, you can email your placers at placement@burningman.org. Also, to save the date for our next Campfire talk, it is April 15th at 5 p.m. Pacific time. More information to come at the Camp Symposium. Coming up, though, is the Camp Symposium happening on March 16th at 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. The Camp Symposium is your opportunity to connect, learn, and grow together as a community of organizers. No matter what kind of camp you come from, be it a theme camp, walk-in, village, small camp, or not a village, larger camp, art vehicle support, or staff, we welcome you to join us. The event is divided between a plenary focused on key information and broad topics in the morning, followed by in-depth breakout sessions on specific topics in the afternoon. So thank you all. From here, we are going to go into sector breakouts There should be a placer or placer-like person in there. I think we've split us all up. You're welcome to continue your discussion, ask questions, but this is also a time to connect with your community, connect with your neighbors. If you want to join a new sector, this could be your dream sector, or go explore a new section of the city virtually. And I want to thank you all and our panelists for joining us. We won't be returning to the main room, so please feel free to join your breakout rooms and start planning with your camps after this.